Michael Jackson, known as the King of Pop, made a big impact on entertainment, music, and society. His ethereal voice, groundbreaking stage personality, and moonwalking moves have captivated people all over the world for decades. What about his kids, though? How did they see the impact their father left behind? Now that he is 22, Michael Jackson's son finally proves what we already knew. Michael was born on August 29, 1958, into a big family. The Jackson family had 10 children, and he was the 8th. Jackson has always loved music because he grew up in a home where music was the most important thing and both parents played instruments. Her name was Catherine Esther Jackson, and she was a Jehovah's Witness. In her spare time, she loved to play the piano and clarinet. She wanted to be a country western singer all her life, but she never got there. Joe Walter Jackson used to be a boxer and now worked at Steel as a crane operator. He really liked music and was very good at playing the guitar. As a way to make extra money for his big family, Joseph played in a neighborhood rhythm and blues band called the Falcons. Michael had 7 siblings when he was young. He had 3 sisters named Rebe, Latoya, and Janet, and 5 brothers named Tito, Jackie, Randy, Marlon, and Jermaine. The family was a big deal in 1964. There was a group of people called the Jackson Brothers or the Jackson 5, which was made up of their father, Joe. Michael and Marlon joined the band to play the congas and tambourine as backup players. He led the boys' practices by himself and made sure there were no mistakes. And if there were, Joe didn't like it when stuff went wrong. Michael Jackson shocked everyone by saying that he didn't spare them the rod. He said that during practices, his father hit him and told him he had a fat nose, among other things. Both parents didn't deny that Joe sometimes hit the kids when they were asked. Catherine went on to say that this was a common way to train kids back then, especially when they were young. The other 4 said their father had never hit them with the belt. Instead, they remember that Michael was more likely to get hit by their father because he was younger. They say that the rules they were taught kept them out of trouble, but Michael says that it was traumatic for him and that he felt more alone and lonely when he was younger. Being well-known might not have helped Michael as a group. He became famous as a singer and dancer at a young age with the Jackson 5, which was later changed to the Jacksons. He was thrown right into show business, and he and the band had to go on trips and play shows. Because of this, a lot of people want to know if Michael ever went to school. The famous singer may have been homeschooled, but some people think he never had the time. It turns out that this is not true, though. Jackson went to public school in his hometown until he was 11 years old. However, Michael and his brothers had to quit school because they were too busy touring and making music. Michael Jackson's personality didn't change when he stopped going to school. He loved to learn, so he loved reading books. The Thriller singer could read a book all the way through in one day, which helped him learn as much as he could over the years. He read a lot of different kinds of books, from novels and writing to history and politics. Before he gave them to Fine, he had 10,000 books, but that's not the point. Come back to the story. Michael Jackson was very talented, that's a fact. He quickly became the lead singer of the band, and had many great years with them. 1967 was a great year for the Jackson 5 family band. They won a talent show for amateurs at the Apollo Theater in New York. After 2 years, the band kept getting bigger and had more success. Joe then chose to make the family band more professional. He had gone from being Joe the father to Joe the manager. As leader, he got the band to sign a deal with Motown Records, where they cut early songs like Who's Lovin' You. After signing with Motown Records, Joe moved his family to Los Angeles. It was there that the band made their first TV appearance in 1969 when they sang a cover of It's Your Thing, the Miss Black America contest. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, the band's hit songs Never Say Goodbye and I'll Be There helped them get bigger and bigger. I Want You Back in a BC. They sold more than 100 million songs around the world, and something else was going on at the same time. Michael was known for more than just being in the group. He was praised for his singing, dancing, and show presence. Rolling Stone called the boy a genius with amazing skills. He quickly became the group's center of attention and star singer, which helped them become famous very quickly. The sound of Michael's voice and the way he danced, which was both athletic and smooth, made his music appealing. His skills came about through development. He started singing when he was young, but he never took singing lessons. He was able to adjust when his voice and style changed, like when he went from being a boy soprano to a tenor. People said that his voice sounded like Stevie Wonder's dreamy, out-of-breath stutter. One of Michael's sound techs heard that Michael had a better voice. During one night, the famous guitarist came in with a song he had written and sang every chord and note to the guitar. His skill with music was great, even though he didn't know or study notes and chords. Even so, Jackson wasn't perfect. He liked to sing and dance, but not play an instrument well. He didn't have everything either. Jackson's fame cost him something he felt bad about for the rest of his life. To become the famous artist he is today, he had to go through a hard childhood where his father pushed them to be the best versions of themselves. Michael insisted that he couldn't remember any good things from his childhood, even though his brothers said otherwise. In his acceptance speech for the Grammy Award in 1993, he said, "My childhood was taken away from me. Christmas did not happen. No one had a birthday. It was not a typical childhood, and it did not have the typical fun things that kids enjoy. Those things were traded for hard work, struggle, and pain, and in the end, success in life and work. But it costs a lot, and I can't change that part of my life or any other part of my life." When asked about their youth, the Jacksons always answered with fond memories of the little times they spent in their hometown as kids. Instead, the media has mostly only talked about the part of the story when they talked about the old man who was their father. Michael did become a father, though, so his thoughts are not lost. Was he mean to his kids like he said his dad was mean to him? The famous singer seemed to handle his duties in a way that was a little different from how he was raised. Michael Jackson always spoke with a happy and proud tone when he talked about his kids. They were very important to him. When Michael got vitiligo, his whole world changed. It was his search for help that led him to find love. The two got married in 1996. Debbie Rowe was his helper as a dermatologist. Soon after, in February 1997, they had their first kid, Michael Joseph Jackson. Soon after, in April 1998, he had his second child, a girl named Paris. Rowe and Jackson split up in April 2000, which was a shame. Rowe agreed to give up custody of the kids in exchange for $8 million. The last child Michael Jackson had was Prince Michael Jackson II, who was born in February through adoption. Jackson loved having kids. "I enjoy taking care of my children myself," the singer said in an interview with Geraldo Rivera. "It's good fun, that's why I had them so I could take care of them, and it's really nice to feel better." He always wished he was the best dad in the world. He knew he only had one chance to do it, though. There were times when Jackson was seen playing with his kids. He made sure that his busy life didn't bother his kids. Michael's first child, Michael Joseph Jackson, was known as Prince. His name came from the fact that his father was king of pop, and he grew up watching his famous father. He saw for himself how big Michael's world was. In many ways, though, Prince wasn't like his dad. Prince stayed away from the media at first. He only became known to the public as a media personality in 2013, when he worked as a guest reporter for Entertainment Tonight. It wasn't music that Prince had in mind, but he did want to be famous. But Prince didn't want to follow in his dad's footsteps when it came to music. He loved it and was shaped by it. "Music is very important to me," Prince said. "My family made me who I am, but I've always wanted to work in production." Michael Jackson didn't seem to push his kids to follow his path. "When my dad asked me what I wanted to do, I always said I wanted to act and direct." Prince went on. "According to what we can tell, Prince has done well in both producing and directing." In 2023, he showed pictures at a meeting about making the future Michael Jackson biopic. Not only does Prince have a different career choice and public image than his father, but he is also different in other ways. Prince, unlike his father, went to college and finished from Loyola Marymount University with a degree in business administration. Paris, who wants to be a musician and has had a rough life, went to her brother's graduation concert. Biggie, Prince's little brother, was there to celebrate with him. Unlike his bigger brothers, Biggie has stayed out of the spotlight. There was a picture of Prince and his brother on Instagram, along with a message from Prince thanking everyone who had helped him. Prince does more than just produce, direct, and be in the media. He also has a YouTube account where he posts videos of his bike rides across California. A few of the videos on the site review movies as well, but it doesn't seem to be used as much these days. Princess Diana and Prince also worked together to start the organization Heal Los Angeles. He made a meal delivery service to help people in need during the pandemic in 2020. As he talked about his most recent work, he said that his father would be proud of him and what he had done. Do you remember Paris? We talked about her earlier in the story. Her life has been more exciting than her father's, and she seems to have taken on his role as a child. She models, acts, and plays music. She's been in a lot of bands and put out both EPs and a full record by herself. "My whole family plays music." She said, I'm a Jackson. She has worked with KVD Beauty as a model. Paris has been in teen comedies on Hulu, like Sex Appeal, and horror shows like American Horror Story. Some things have gone wrong in her life, though. Many times, Paris has tried to end her life, and the reasons she gave made everyone sad. Many people think Paris's life is great, but it's not, and she hates herself. She didn't think she was worth living anymore and thought she could never do anything right. She's feeling better now, thank goodness. Biggie, Prince and Paris's brother, loves music and art like his father does, but he hasn't tried to make a name for himself in the music business. He is still involved with music, though, and has been seen at a number of music events and shows, showing his support for the business. His family has always told him how important school is, and he seems to take that to heart because he has only focused on school. Details are kept secret, but it's possible that Bee Gees have explored different hobbies and interests behind the scenes. Because of how he was raised, he may have had a lot of different experiences, from dance to the visual arts. Jackson's kids want to be more than just Michael Jackson's kids, but Shade keeps following them around. The ghosts of their father come to visit them every once in a while. Stars are drawn to scandals like moths to a flame, and Michael Jackson's scandals hurt his business. The claims made against Michael Jackson in August 1993 were very serious, and they followed him throughout his life. At the time, Ryan Chandler, 13, and his father, Evan Chandler, said that Jackson had sexually abused them as children. The court case that followed got a lot of attention and caused a lot of feeling, which made the King of Pop feel stressed and anxious, which led to health problems. He said he wasn't guilty, but the case had a big impact on his life and image. Jackson agreed to pay the Chandlers a large amount of money, $23 million, and the case was finally settled outside of court. The trouble didn't end there, though. It followed him around for years, and it seems even his children. Also, Michael Jackson was charged with major crimes in Santa Barbara on December 18, 2003. 7 counts of child abuse and 2 counts of giving alcohol to a minor were included in the accusations. Jackson said he was not guilty and rejected the charges. People v. Jackson began on January 31, 2005 in Santa Maria, California, and didn't end until the end of May. Jackson's health got worse because of the stressful event. If he had been found guilty, he could have gone to jail for up to 20 years. Jackson was found not guilty of any crime on June 13, 2005. In 2009, files on Jackson were made public that showed the FBI had a hand in both the charges in 1993 and the trial in 2005. The FBI also showed that they couldn't find any proof that Jackson had done anything wrong. Prince and his brothers have had to fight because the world still sees them through these lenses. They have had to deal with the weight of history and the shadows of fame. Prince Paris and Biggie continue to remember their father while going their separate ways. As a result, there is now a fine line between being vulnerable and strong. Even though they have to deal with their father's ghosts, they are grateful for the magic he brought to the world. This magic lasts through time and generations, and they want to return the favor. Michael was known for more than just his song and dance moves. He made a big difference in the world outside of show business. He was also a generous person who gave a lot to causes. Jackson used his fame and money to bring attention to problems like poverty, hunger, and sickness that affect people around the world. He went to schools, hospitals, and shelters to make kids happy and speak up for their health. Jackson went to places like Brazil, South Africa, and Romania, putting on shows to raise money for good causes. He started the Heal the World Foundation in 1992, which is one of his most important works. The foundation's goal was to make the lives of children around the world better. In addition to giving money to children's hospitals, disaster relief, and education programs, it funded many other causes. During his Dangerous World Tour, he performed in Bucharest, Romania, and gave millions of dollars to hospitals and shelters in the area. Jackson also backed AIDS studies in patients at a time when the disease had a bad reputation. His song Gone Too Soon was written in honor of his friend Ryan White, who fights AIDS. Jackson also cared about the world around him. His song Earth Song had a strong message about taking care of the earth. Jackson used his song to stress the importance of protecting the environment and ask his fans to do the same. He gave away free tickets to his regular concerts to groups that help kids from poor homes. Children who were sick all over the world saw him in the hospital. He let kids who were sick or didn't have much into his own home and offered special services and nurses to those who needed them. Jackson donated many valuable things from his work and personal life to auctions for good causes. Many awards and honors were given to him for his charitable work, including 2 commendations from the president. It's interesting that 2 U.S. presidents, George H.W. Bush and Ronald Reagan, recognized him. He set 39 Guinness World Records as an artist because of the good things he did and the gifts he gave. Michael had a great life. If he had lived longer, he might have made the world a better place. Michael Jackson died on June 25, 2009 in Los Angeles, California. He was 50 years old. An autopsy showed that acute propofol intoxication, a strong sedative that his personal doctor, Conrad Murray, had given, was the official cause of his death. Jackson was found unconscious in his bedroom, and doctors at the Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center were not able to wake him up. The original report from the coroner said that Jackson's death was a murder, and Murray was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter in 2011. Jackson's children and his songs will always remember him. His kids are now out in the world making their own way.